Hey everyone, this is Homemaking with Rebecca. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about homeschooling through the summer, whether you should, whether you shouldn't, and kind of the different schools of thought that go along behind that. If you like these videos, I would love for you to subscribe and like below, and if you have a question or comment, you can leave those down below as well. It really helps me out so much. So the two different schools of thought are typically either that people like to school year-round, and so they'll go through the summer with just kind of minimal breaks, or they'll just take the whole summer off. And these are kind of the main schools of thought people talk about in homeschool groups. And the school of thought behind schooling through the summer is usually because they don't want their kids to get behind or forget certain concepts that may build upon each other, because 2 or 3 months off of school you can forget several things, and when you come back to it you don't remember. And what I found through the years, when my kids were in elementary school and we were starting out, I did find it just so much easier to keep them in a routine and keep things going like that. But one of the things that I realized is elementary school didn't take near as much mental energy out of me as it did when they got older. And so when they started getting older, we decided to do the breaks in the summer, and that helped us so much. And so, if you are needing a break, I would definitely take some time off, but you're kind of wanting your kids to keep going to, or you're wanting them to stay in some type of routine. You could do just kind of a little bit of school, have them do a handwriting lesson, have them do some reading, things like that. Maybe you're going to have them do something different that they haven't done before, like on the computer that maybe you haven't done. Some of the websites we would use would be Teach Your Monster to Read, Reading Eggs, ABC. Yeah, I don't know if those are still around or still being used, but those were great. So you could have them do a little bit of time on there. So it'd be a little bit something different maybe than their typical book work if you're wanting to keep them going. One great thing to do in the summer with kids is if they have a summer reading program at your library, and even if they don't, just take them to the library, let them pick out some books. I know for my kids, when the drive home from the library was one of the quietest times I would have when they were little, and even when we got home, because they loved, even if they can't read, they love looking at picture books and stuff. So that's something really good, and usually they have great prizes and stuff if you have a summer reading program in your area. And so it just kind of incentivizes these kids to read a lot more, and they enjoy it, and it's fun, and they can do activities at the library with their friends and things like that. So that's really nice, and it just kind of keeps the learning going. When we switched over to just not doing any schoolwork at all, I was really surprised at how much my kids' creativity came out. And so, in homeschooling, I think we just try to foster this love of learning. And so we want them to know how to get information and know how to learn, as opposed to always being spoon fed something. And so when we were taking that break, I felt like, especially one of my sons, his creativity would just turn on. He would be making comic books and doing forts. He would be playing games with his brothers and sisters. And one of my sons last year, he made up his own game out of Legos, and he was having everybody play it. Sometimes I think we think that we've always got to be kind of pushing them along and things like that. And some kids you do. The kids are all different. But, I would just challenge you to take that break and kind of see what they get into, and see how they work. And if they're just sitting around doing nothing, you might have to kind of push them in a certain direction, or get something new for them to try or whatever. But just kind of see what they come up with on their own, because I think it's really cool. Last year, one of my sons built a clay oven out of just dirt we have in our backyard. He had seen it on this video that we had watched, and he wanted to try it for himself. And he actually made bread. He'd never really made bread before, but he made bread and baked it in that oven. So that was a really cool thing to see. This year, he's into martial arts, and so he's been watching YouTube videos. We have a punching bag and a mat, and he's been trying out all these different things and learning all these different moves. He's been doing cartwheel kicks and all this kind of stuff, and he's been teaching his brothers and sisters. And what's really cool is he's learning about the cultures that go along with these martial arts, and he'll be like, "Hey mom, did you know this culture does this culture does that?" And so he's learning these things without me even having to do anything. So my girls like to do crafts and handiwork, and my daughter makes earrings, and so I can tell that she gets excited to make earrings when she's not doing school, because that kind of fuels her creativity. And so, and I know for myself, I need the break. I need the mental break to be able to do something else besides schoolwork, and it makes me excited to come back to it eventually, right? So a lot of times stuff needs to be done around the house. Like if you need painting done or something like that, that's a big job. And so I always find if you have a break from school, it helps that to do that so that you can work on it for several days at a time without having to stop. And one year I had always heard about like triathlons, and I was like, I really want to try doing this. And so I trained for several months in the summer, and I ended up competing in a triathlon. And so that was something really good for me to do for myself, you know. And so we have to fuel ourselves, and it's good for our kids to see us get into our own activities and things that we want to do. I think that fuels them as well. Maybe you work and you want to work on some of your work projects during this a little more heavily than you do during the school year, you know. So there's lots of different options. Like I said, when they get older, it's just kind of really hard for me to keep going. The younger years, it was a little bit easier. So I know that homeschooling, it can be a lot of work, and don't feel bad about taking those breaks. You know, it's good for you, it's good for your kids, and then you're going to come back and you're going to be refreshed. And like I said, I think you'll be surprised at what your kids come up with and what they're learning without you even having to do anything. My kids are hatching some eggs right now for some new chicks, and they've been working on with their animals. There's always something to be learned, so just watch for those opportunities and look and see what they are learning instead of just thinking that it's just about the bookwork. Because learning isn't just about the bookwork, right? It's about the experiences we get to have. Maybe you're going on vacation. That's such a great experience and learning experience too, you know. And just taking that time off to just be with your kids and just have fun sometimes. Because sometimes we're having to push to get the schoolwork done and get them to do it. And that can be really laborious on us as well. And so sometimes you just need to take a break, have some fun, and it's good for everybody. And sometimes we just need permission as homeschool moms to, it's okay to take a break, you know. I think that we just kind of push ourselves and think we've got to keep going all the time, and that's not true. And so if you need permission, consider this your permission. It's okay to take a break, and it's okay to take some time for yourself as well. If you need some time off, if you need a couple days away, you need an afternoon off, take some time off, you know. And it makes us better moms, it makes us better people, and we can come back and be better for our kids. It helps to take a break. I feel like it makes you really excited to come back. We typically start schooling in July because it is so hot here, and so I find when we get done in April, by July everybody's actually kind of ready to get going. I mean, they may not say they're ready, but I can tell by their attitudes that they need to kind of get back into a schedule and routine, and so we'll start working on that again, usually in July, mid-July to end of July or something like that. And that's just what works for good for us. So I think it's going to depend on seasonally what you've got going on in your area. Another thing I didn't mention is the garden. You know, we're typically working on the garden in the spring and summer, and that's a great thing for the kids to see botany in real life. You know, I'd rather see it in front of my eyes as opposed to just reading about it in a book. And we like to do a little bit of canning. We don't do a ton of canning, but that's something that's great for them to do as well. Food preservation and learning to put things up. And so homeschooling is a great life. I'm so thankful to be able to be here with my kids and homeschooling them, especially having two that have already graduated now. You see how time just flies by, and I'm just thankful to be here with them, even through the hard times, even through the difficult times. We get to be here together and live life together, and what better thing could you have, you know? And so thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful. I would love to know what you do in your family. Do you all take summers off? Do you keep going? Do you just do a little bit of schoolwork? How do you handle it? Maybe it's like mine, it's changed with the different ages of your kids or whatever. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a great day.